Now that she's timing it.
Okay, good evening for joining us, and we're glad to see a whole back row of students. We'd love to see. Mic on. All right, I'll start over. Thank you for being here tonight. We're glad to have students here with us to celebrate your accomplishments and also to just be able to start the new year off in a great way. So we ask you to please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, nation under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 1.3 is approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye and the agenda is approved. Item 1.4 is recognition of our Spring Creek High School boys and girls cross-country state champions. Mr. Malky, we're glad to have you with us in any way that you can join us. Would you like to introduce your team?
I would. I appreciate that. I apologize I can't be there tonight. And I appreciate the opportunity that you guys are given to recognize these young people and their accomplishments this year. We were the 2021, both boys and girls, team champions for the state of Nevada, and they also were the regional team champions in cross country. For some of you that don't understand the sport very much, it's a 3.1 mile race or 5,000 meters, and you have an opportunity to run 7 participants in the race, and you score your top 5. The top 5 are scored according to whatever the place value was, and the lowest team score wins. If there happens to be a tie, which there was this year, it actually goes down to the 6th runner on the team, and so that's fortunately for us and unfortunately for Moapa Valley, that the tie went to the 6th runner, and our 6th runner was ahead in that race. I don't know who all ended up making it. I know there was a few that were trying to make it there, but our state team champions on the girls' side, Kylie Munson, Brianna Perchetti, Macy Reed, Ryan Youngblood, Lee Berry, Brandy Manhire, Sydney Reed, and Haley Syme. That was actually Spring Creek's 9th state title on the girls' side. In the 27 years we've had the opportunity to run a state meet, it's the 28th year the school's been open. We missed in 2020. On the boys' side, that was their 5th state title. We had Joel Herman, Liam Hamilton, Dylan Sanchez, Nathan Thomas, Benjamin Claridge, Braden Fisher, Caden Cunningham, and Hayden Mitchell. They were the 2021 state team champions for the boys. The boys were back-to-back, so they had won it 2 years in a row. We didn't have the 2020 season. The ladies would have been, that was their 4th consecutive, not counting the 2020 year we didn't compete for the state title. We also were the state team girls academic champions. We qualified 4 boys and 4 girls on the state academic team. On the boys' side, it was Ben Claridge, Braden Fisher, Logan Syme, and Nathan Thomas. On the girls' side, it was Kylie Munson, Macy Reed, Haley Syme, and Lauren Howell. We did have Kylie Munson was 1st team regionals and 1st team all-state. Brianna Perchetti was a 1st team regional, 2nd team all-state, and Macy Reed was a 2nd team all-region and 2nd team all-state. On the boys' side, Liam Hamilton was a 1st team all-region and a 1st team all-state. Joel Herman was a 1st team all-region and a 1st team all-state. And then we had Dylan Sanchez, Ben Claridge, and Nathan Thomas were all 2nd team all-region, and Dylan and Nathan Thomas were both 2nd team all-state. I don't know if you were able to hear most of that, or if I'm breaking up, or if I have good sound quality here in the out in Spring Creek, but I appreciate you guys giving the opportunity for these fine young athletes and find students in the classroom as well, the opportunity to be recognized in the new year here.
Well, yes, we could hear you, and we are glad to be able to recognize them. And we do have certificates for them here, which we would have normally had you read off, Mr. Mulkey, but since you're not here, we'll get somebody else to read those off so these guys can come up and receive a certificate. And just so you know, you may have to come a couple times because we've got a really big pile, because you guys did amazing things. So do I have a volunteer who wants to read names and then hand them? We won't have you shake everybody's hand. We'll try to follow some good COVID protocols, but we will have you come up and receive your certificates. So
I'd like the opportunity to clap for these
Yeah,
guys
let's-
too. 'Cause,
yes,
I mean, it's-
absolutely.
It wasn't a common.
Matt, do you want to read? Okay, we'll have you guys come up and we'll hand you your certificates. Over here. Sure.
That'll work. Perfect. And I apologize in advance for any mispronunciations that I make, and please do correct me.
Watch them run all season. They're both at the season. They're all awesome. If you ever have a chance, you should bring Creek Cross. They're amazing.
Lee Berry, Brandy Manhire, Kylie Munson, Brianna Perchetti, Macy Reed, Sydney Reed, Haley Syme, Ryan Youngblood, Benjamin Claridge, William Cunningham, Braden Fisher, Liam Hamilton, Joel Herman, Hayden Mitchell, Dylan Sanchez, Nathan Thomas, Lee is not here, correct? Brandy Manhire,
Like I said, we've got several certificates, so you might have to.
Kylie Munson,
We're letting you get your.
Brianna Perchetti, because yeah, the 5K that you guys run every competition isn't enough. So we're going to cycle you through some more. Macy Reed is not here. Sydney Reed is not here. Haley Syme. Ryan Youngblood. Lauren Howell. Kylie Munson. Haley Syme is not here, correct? Benjamin Claridge. Braden Fisher. Logan Syme. Nathan Thomas. Coach Todd Malke.
Oh, thank you.
For the coach.
Thomas Canning. Benjamin Claridge. William Cunningham. Brennan Dastrup. Ethan Dorahove. Did I pronounce that correctly? Dorahove, thank you. Justin Esperanza. Braden Fisher. Liam Hamilton. Joel Herman. Ian Mitchell. Dylan Sanchez. Dylan, okay. Logan Syme, Joseph Terrace, Nathan Thomas, George Thomas. All right. Congratulations again.
I'll just get back to my mic and And say one more time, thank you for coming and being with us, and thank you for always representing Spring Creek and Elko County School District so well. You guys are awesome. So one more hand. Thank you. All right, and I promise we're not offended if you go to the basketball games. Thank you for being here. All right, we'll move to item 1.5, input from the public. This is a period devoted to comments by the general public, if any, and discussion of those comments. In the interest of privacy and due process, the public is requested to not raise personnel issues except in a legally noticed closed personnel session of the board. Comments are limited to 3 consecutive minutes. A speaker's time may not be reserved, divided, apportioned, or deferred. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been included specifically on an agenda as an item upon which action will be taken. This is a non-action item. Is there anyone who wishes to make a comment? All right, thank you. We'll move on to item 2.1, reorganization of the Board of Trustees. And I'm not going to read through all of that, but we're going to reorganize the board. And as we have a fairly new board, I'm just going to open it up for any questions that any board members might have about any of the different positions on the board.
Teresa, can you explain some of those just briefly past the, like the Superintendent's Advisory Committee? I know what STARS is.
Okay. Well, let's start with the Superintendent's Advisory Committee. How's that? So the superintendent's actually, Mr. Anderson, would you like to take that one? Since it's your committee.
Yeah, sure. I've up to this point in the last 3 weeks not had an advisory committee yet, so I can't speak to personal experience with said committee. But that committee is something that would, outside of things we do here, where you maybe would direct us to consider things or give us suggestions, or maybe it's just initiative about doing from within leadership in the district. It would be a committee that could be made up of a lot of different entities, could be community members, students, staff. That committee would discuss to make sure we're considering the impact that whether it's a program or something else that we're going to do, how that is going to impact the various components that make up our school community. So in a nutshell, that's what an advisory committee does. And so it would be a committee that I would meet with, and we try to make sure we are making decisions with everyone in mind. As our vision says, we do things for all. So we want to consider things for all.
So this is a committee that hasn't been developed yet. It's in development, or they're already members of it?
I'd say Mr. Walls, go ahead if you have.
Significantly impact the way we do things.
Okay.
So kind of to differentiate between just those everyday decisions of superintendent or directors or people from things that significantly change.
All right, any other questions on any of those positions?
Madam Chair, I'm assuming that, oh, please go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Matt.
I'm assuming that the Debt Management Commission is the Regional Debt Management Commission, correct? It's not.
It's the county.
Okay, so it's not just the school district, it's all of the.
It's the county. There's, I think there's 7 people on it. There's the mayor, county commissioner, somebody from the school board, which is me right now, and the mayor from Windover's on it.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 other. There's a meeting on the 4th of February to select new officers and approve the agenda. And that's all that happened last year in the February meeting. And then there'll be a meeting in August.
How frequent are those? Is it what,
Just those.
biannually?
Those 2, yeah.
All right, any other questions on any of the positions?
I think Jeff brings up a good point on number of meetings in a year or in a period. So I'm assuming starting then with the Debt Management Commission, we know that that's twice a year then, correct?
Mhm.
The NASB meets monthly.
There's 4 in-person meetings. And then I think there's 4 virtual meetings a year.
So I'm assuming that would be good then for the director and the alternate director, but legislative liaison probably meets a little bit more regularly during legislative sessions. Would that be fair assessment?
Say that again.
I apologize. So it looks like we're making 3 selections to NASB, 1 legislative liaison, 1 director, and 1 alternate director. I'm assuming that the director and the alternate director will meet those 4 meetings in person, 4 remote. The legislative liaison, do they meet all of those 8 plus additional during legislative sessions?
There's usually 1 person goes to the in-person meetings. That's all every county has a vote on that board, and that's what it is. The legislative liaison this year won't amount to much because the legislature's not in session.
Okay.
And then that's an alternate.
Okay.
And so that is one where it is not a legislative year where we could have the same person as the legislative liaison as well as the director, since it is, the legislative liaison won't have much of a function this year.
Okay.
So that's a possibility if the board wants to do it that way.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson, about how often do you think the advisory committee will be meeting for your superintendent's advisory committee?
I would estimate that an advisory committee could meet anywhere from once a month to once a quarter, something along those lines.
Okay.
Or as needed, or yeah.
Okay. And STARS meets monthly, correct? Okay.
Yes, the STARS committee meets monthly.
The Crisis Development Committee member, how often does the Crisis Committee meet?
Isn't that the one time where they signed that big book that
I think
the
so,
SMAC
yeah.
committee had? Isn't that what that is?
There aren't a lot of.
Okay.
Review of
Okay. And then the Financial Oversight Committee is going to be a new one,
That will be new.
correct? And so that is to be determined.
All right, any other questions before we move forward with the reorganization? All right, I would open it up for discussion from the board or for nominations.
Madam Chair, I'd like to nominate Teresa Dastrup as president.
I'll second it.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Are there any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Ira Wines as clerk.
I would second that.
Thank you. Any other nominations let's start with those 2 positions. Any other nominations for the president or the clerk? All right, seeing none, we will just go ahead and vote on both of those at the same time. All those in favor of Teresa Dastrup as the president and Ira Wines as the clerk, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, chair votes aye, and those 2 positions are filled. We'll move on to the selection of the representative to the Debt Management Commission. Do we have any nominations for that position?
I'm happy to, go ahead, Ira.
Well, I mean, if somebody else wants to step up to that spot, I would nominate you.
I'd be happy to either to do one of, or I'd like to be on either the Financial Oversight and or the Debt Management Commission. I don't want to overburden myself, but I do have some interest in those 2 areas that I'm happy to do if no one else is interested in. So I'm happy to accept a nomination if need be, or self-nominate if that would be appropriate, if there's nobody else that wants either or both of those.
Okay, I would nominate Matt as to the Debt Management Commission and the Financial Oversight Committee.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. Any other nominations for either of those positions? And I will remind you, we will add more to the Financial Oversight Committee as well. I believe we can add up to 3 members. That form of
I'd be
financial
interested
oversight.
in Financial Oversight Committee.
Okay,
I would be too.
okay.
Okay, I'll include
I'll include
that
them
in
in
my
your
motion.
nomination. All right.
Yep.
And let's see, whoever had the second, do you approve?
Sorry, you said that again.
We're adding you and Jeff to the Financial Oversight Committee nominations. Okay, all right. Okay. Any other nominations? Okay, if not, we will go ahead and vote on those two. The appointment to the Debt Management Commission will be Matt, and Matt, Jeff, and Susan to be appointed to the Financial Oversight Committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, chair votes aye, and those appointments are made as well. All right, we'll move on to a selection of a representative to NASB. And like I say, we can choose to combine the legislative liaison and the director as one position this year, if that's how everyone would like to do it, and then just have an alternate who will fill in for the director as needed. Do we have any nominations for that position?
I've been the NASB director for 3 years, and it's been a lot of fun. You get to work a little bit at the state level and get involved a little more. And I'm willing to, I mean, if somebody else wants to try that out, it would be great.
And that you said that's a once a year,
So that
Or
one's
that
No,
was
that's
monthly.
a monthly. Oh, gotcha.
4 meetings in person. I've been to Vegas and Reno, and we hosted one in Elko County last year, and Winnemucca.
Yeah. Well, my schedule is flexible for that kind of stuff. So,
Okay.
but if it's something you're wanting to do, or it sounds like you're wanting to,
I've done it. Somebody else.
then you know what to do.
I don't want to have all the fun.
Madam Chair, I'm happy to nominate Jeff Durham as the NASB Director and Legislative Liaison.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Are there any other nominations for that position? All right, if not, we will go ahead and vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, chair votes aye, and congratulations, Jeff. All right, we will now need to appoint an alternate director. If anyone would like to make a nomination for an alternate director?
Josh.
I'll take all. Don't all of you jump at once. I'll
All
take
right,
it.
all right, we have a nomination for Josh, and I'm gonna give him his own second. We'll just go ahead and do that.
Okay.
All right, any other nominations for the alternate director? All right, all in favor of nominating Josh for that, or of selecting Josh for that position, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and that position is filled. Now we need 2 plus an alternate to be appointed to the Superintendent's Advisory Committee.
I don't want to start a fight on this, but I would like to see either Ira or Teresa as more experienced board members be one of the members there. And I'll let you two decide who you want, if not both of you. But I think it might be good for those of us that are newer to the board for us to perhaps be one of the other seats. It's just a train of thought, but just a suggestion, not making any names yet.
I would like to be part of that too, if possible.
Okay.
I'll volunteer because I know you're busy with being the chairman, and you're probably.
We're picking 3.
All right, and yeah, so we'll pick 2 and an alternate.
Yeah, I'd be interested also
Okay,
if it's an alternate or however.
okay. Well, let's, I'm just gonna throw this out there as a recommendation that where you're the NASB director, you might have a lot on your plate, so let's put you as
That-
alternate if that's
sure.
okay with,
Yeah, that's fine.
all right,
Madam Chair, I'd like to make that a formal motion that
thank you.
Ira Wines and Susan Nelson be the appointments to the Superintendent's Advisory Committee with Jeff Durham as the alternate. And I'm so sorry, not Susan Nelson. That's somebody I work with in Scouts, Susan Neal. So let's start that. Let's scrap that and start that again. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that Ira Wines and Susan Neal be appointments to the Superintendent's Advisory Committee with Jeff Durham as the alternate.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, and I don't think there's any other nominations, so we're just gonna go ahead and vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, chair votes aye, and that is approved. We now need a chair for the STARS Committee. So we got two more, the STARS Committee and the Crisis Development Committee member.
I'll
So-
do either one of those if, I mean,
I think your experience in the education field directly with Elko County School District might be good for you to be on STARS, if you're
I
comfortable
agree.
with that.
Yep, I am.
I'll make that nomination.
Okay, thank you. And I'll just give Matt the second. Is that all right, Matt?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Any other nominations for STARS? Okay, if not, we will vote. All in favor of nominating Susan as our STARS Committee Chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and congratulations on being the STARS Committee Chair. And the final one is the Crisis Development Committee member.
I nominate Josh.
Second.
Thank
All
you.
right, we have a motion. We have a nomination with a second. Any other nominations? All right. We will go ahead and vote. Unless Josh says he's turning it down, but I haven't heard that yet, so we're going to go ahead and vote.
We did this nominate before.
All right. All in favor of appointing Josh as our Crisis Development Committee member, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and we have just reorganized our Board of Trustees. So congratulations, everyone, and we look forward to continuing the work of the board. We'll move on to item 2.2, receipt review and possible approval of tuition rates for out-of-state and out-of-county students attending school in Elko County for possible action. All right, Mr. Anderson, do you have any information you want to share on this before we open discussion?
Sure. Just for those who are hearing this item for the first time, it is referring to sometimes, depending on where our students are coming from, they may be residing outside of our district, and in cases of maybe around Jackpot or Hawaii or Wendover out of the state. And so when they attend with us, if for some reason they're going to, there's a fee to be paid, so to speak, if they're going to come attend in our schools. So if you have any other questions about the actual numbers, is Julie? Oh, Julie's right there. Hi, Julie. I literally looked right through you. So Julie can answer any questions about the specifics of that document.
Any questions from the board on that or the authorization of impact aid
Madam
item
Chair.
that's attached?
Yes, I have a
Okay,
question.
please ask questions. Julie,
Thank
would
you.
you just like to step up to the mic?
Thank you, Julie, for putting this spreadsheet together. I appreciate it. The spreadsheet I'm looking at is the FY22 tuition worksheet in and out of state. It appears that in-state Eureka Carlin, we have 9 students. So am I understanding that to mean that 9 students from the county of Eureka are going to Carlin combined?
Yes.
Okay. And out of state, Idaho, Hawaii, and Bruno Grandview, we have 81 students coming in. Is that 81 for each of those jurisdictions?
So we have 81 students from Idaho, and it shows as 2 lines because we use the lowest of the Bruno Grandview expenses or hours. So it's 81 and 9.
Okay.
So we have 90 out of county students.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know where we were putting 162 extra students.
No,
so-
it looks confusing, but that's so we can calculate 2 different rates, and we charge the lower of the 2.
Okay, and so if I'm understanding this correctly, then the lower of the 2 is Elko County School District, and that's why it's 1.18 mil, or sorry.
Yeah.
So it would have been that, but then there's an additional per student
54.
expenditure.
So
And is that where we get then the 1.2 million? Sorry.
well, the bottom line is using Bruno Grandview's financial statements, the 1.169 million,
Okay,
and then the 1.181 is ours. So,
Okay. and so we use the
so
the
Bruno
lower of those.
Grandview's lower, and we're charging that one.
Okay. I appreciate that clarification. Thank you. Madam Chair, I did not have any further questions on that.
All right, how would the board like to proceed?
Madam Chair, I'm happy to make a motion to approve the tuition rates for out-of-state and out-of-county students attending school in Elko County.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye and those are approved.
And Madam
Thank you,
Chair, I do
Julie.
apologize. Does that also then approve the authorization of impact aid representative?
So that comes in one motion unless we specifically need it separate,
Great.
Julie.
And so we've just authorized Mr. Anderson as that representative, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item 2.3, discuss and provide staff direction on how to proceed with capital projects for fiscal year 23 and beyond for possible action. Mr. Kelly.
I'm here to answer your questions you have right now. I'll give you the little background. I can read what we did there. Basically, we finished the projects that are under construction right now and stopped any design on future projects. We're anticipating about a balance of $18 million, July 1. If we can, would recommend we continue with the design. It costs about another $100,000 to complete the two designs that are currently in play right now. But I recommend that we suspend the construction until we get another capital funding source. Might need that money for roof repairs, mechanical repairs, all that kind of stuff.
How much money will we have July 1st?
I'm guessing about 18 million. I'm not guessing, we're estimating about 18 million.
Now, the design expenses was I reading right around 100,000?
Yeah,
What
to
we're
finish,
looking at.
complete what we're doing. Yeah.
Would that go up if we were to even wait on that? I mean, and.
We were
and
to
do
wait
it-
on that. Then if we stay with the same design firm, they have to start over. You might have new engineers, architects coming in.
Right.
They have to go back and learn what they did. So it's better to complete it, put it on the shelf.
I'm just
have it
wondering
ready
if
to
our
go.
construction needs change in the future because these material costs continue to escalate.
That's another reason.
Then I would say that may change the design. I was curious as to why we would.
We should go
design
back
it.
and review it because we have to do a code review.
Right.
'cause Building codes have changed throughout the time, depending on when we build it. But it's better to at least get it to 90+% complete design. And then put it on the shelf until we're ready.
Right.
What would it cost to build those two?
The estimate right now for the gym at Northside is about 7.5 million, if not the 8 million. So it's pretty much doubled since we did that cost estimate 2 years ago. That's based on today's costs and equipment shortages and everything else.
So the cost estimate was about 4 million a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we think actually by delaying it a couple of years, maybe things might settle down a little bit as far as inflation and construction costs. They might kind of come back to an equilibrium.
What about the building in Spring Creek? What's it?
We're only about 35% complete on the design there, so we don't have a real good cost estimate. But again, materials and stuff will probably double, like similar to the gym and classrooms.
And what was it originally estimated at?
I think that was a little over 2 million for that one.
Now, Casey, on that, the CTE building in Spring Creek, is there already some funding in the form of grants that has come to help with that building? Do we have some materials already or some,
They did purchase some equipment
okay,
that we have already on site stored. I think it's about $100,000 worth. I'm not sure. Kind of jumped the gun on that one. Asked them not to do that, but the grant was there and they applied for it. So I'm not sure what the ramifications are of that. If we have to send it back or what we have to do with that. We may be able to implement it into the Wells Meat Lab because it's refrigerators and equipment like that.
and if there was a possibility that that program could find other funding, is there potential we would have enough to be able to help them fund that if they were able to find matching funds or something of that nature?
I mean, there's $18 million there, but I'm hesitant because we can't go back to the voters until 2024.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna actually ask them to raise their taxes. So it's kind of an insurance policy to keep schools going.
Other questions from the board? or
What,
Guidance?
probably a loaded question. What do you spend a year on maintenance?
Our operating budget last year with $1 million, it got cut down to 650,000 this year. And the major maintenance, we were pulling on, some of the bigger boilers and stuff. It kind of depends on the year, but we had pay-as-you-go to help us out on some of the big high dollar stuff. Basically, my FY21 budget, FY23 takes a 95% pay cut because of the loss of the pay-as-you-go in the bond.
And that doesn't include replacing an HVAC system or a roof.
No, with this, or my annual budget, FY23 will be about 650,000 to maintain over 1.5 million square feet of buildings. Not a lot.
So, and to go back to like an HVAC system or something like that going out, we were talking easily $500,000, like with what we've just done in Wells.
Wells is about 600 or 6.5 million.
6.5 million
Under the HVAC?
But I got a quote on my desk right now for 3 boilers, plus we replace a Adobe, that's $300,000. So needs some alternative for those big ticket items.
Ms. Stalkey, if you have are you familiar at all with the grant situation that Mr. Kelly mentioned? What is the ramification if we do not proceed with that grant? It was about $100,000, is that correct?
I believe it is. I wasn't part of that,
It's
so.
about, our competitive grant is about 100,000, and then we also have another grant that we had going towards new programs that was about 200,000. And I'm currently waiting on a reply from MDE to discuss what the ramifications are right now.
So potential to lose 300,000 if we don't spend roughly 4 million. Well, it was originally a $2 million estimate, right? And now it's 4 million estimate, but we're only 35% of the way done with the design. So in essence, we'd be spending 4.1 million to save 300,000, but we'd also be, how many classrooms are included in this? Am I reading that right? I thought I saw somewhere with classrooms.
Well, it's gonna be essentially a meat lab and possibly we haven't finalized, it's gonna be a diesel tech program in the other half. We're maybe looking to do some switching, convert the existing, that was the auto tech in the main building, convert that to diesel and put something else like the CAD drafting or something out near the meat lab. Because we're thinking about diesel fumes by the meat lab. We want to kind of separate those.
Wrong type of smoking the meats?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Walls, are we finding any shortages of instructors that would be needing to be hired for this program?
Extremely difficult. So the meat lab is talking about those are egg teachers. And generally speaking, over the past few years, we've been able to fill our egg positions. I think partly because we do such a great job with our egg programs in Elko County, Nevada and Southern Nevada. As far as the diesel program, anything to do with automotive, we've had an extremely difficult time for them.
Just with a little experience out there with that program, I know that program affects about 300 students in Spring Creek and could really make a positive impact if we could make, those programs, if we could figure out how to make it happen, but still be able to take care of the rest of our facilities. So, that's a large number of students to be impacting with those facilities.
We could always bring this back later if we decide to change.
Is there a potential, and I was only able to go through 1 year of ag before I moved to a school that didn't have an ag program. So is there a potential for the meat program to make money? Can that be used as an enterprise fund, so to speak?
I'm not sure how they do it well. I think they do process meat for a fee.
They just processed 6 pigs for us. We paid them $125 a pig.
Okay.
To do it.
Okay, sorry, I chuckle because Catherine, I apologize if you're watching because she owns, my sister owns a meat processing plant. So I'm not trying to compete with you, sis. I agree with Teresa. I would like to see if there is a way to see this ag program go forward. And I'd love to be able to say, yep, the bond passed and we have the money. We don't have to be in this situation. I think $8 million is almost half of what we have left. And the kids at Northside, I'm sure we'd love to get them into better classrooms, into a different gym. I just don't see that right now that's quite feasible. I think spending 25% roughly of what we have left to be able to impact 300 students is worthy of consideration. And I'd like to see if there's a way to trim costs. Maybe we eliminate the diesel program if we're not able to work forward on that and concentrate only on meats. I don't know the solution per se, but I would certainly recommend that, yes, let's finish the design. Let's get them done, because I've seen projects start and stop, and it's the design side of it just gets ridiculous at times. I would say finish the design. And then I would like to see at least the ag program move forward. I don't think it's feasible right now for us to move forward with Northside Elementary. And that's just where my thoughts are currently. And I think I'm good for now.
All right, any other thoughts from the board?
I would just say that that vote, seeing that go with the bond issue is hard, but it kind of spoke to where we're at, and we do need to give up some stuff. And I think it'd be smart for us to consider the future ahead, where it's kind of an unknown with inflation going the way it is, and these material prices and things like that. We probably should wait as much as possible. And that really pains me to say, knowing that these programs, how they help, and even how I talked about, these extra activity type programs. But I think we need to be real careful financially going forward until we know exactly what's going to be happening. And if we're not going to be able to have access to those additional funds, or even to ask for additional funds until 2024, we probably need to look at our buildings even a little bit closer. And I mean, I'd like to ask you, is that enough money? If we have 18 million sitting to be able to sit until 2024, do we feel comfortable that it's enough to take care of maintenance or anything that may come up, or we have to replace an entire system or two or three? What kind of insurance policy or money in the bank do we need to be able to support that? I'd be curious to hear your.
I wish I had that crystal ball to know what was going to happen to these systems, but I do know we have, grammar number 2 is the perfect example. It was originally put in 1962. It's an old steam system.
Right.
And it's only got one boiler. That goes out right now. It's a 6-month lead time to get that boiler. I'd be almost talking to the board about possibly buying a boiler to have it sitting at the warehouse for replacement.
Just to have as a backup.
Just to have it.
I do the same thing with my pizza ovens.
So, not knowing that, we know we still need to repair roofs. We need, if the boilers go down, we need to replace them. We still need to maintain our asphalt that we have at all the playgrounds and parking lots.
So, where does that put us with this 18 million we have? Is that enough for 2024? Do we need more funds even just to augment to be able to do these things?
2024 without any major.
Or if we spend half of it on a construction project, is that really going to put us in a bind, or at least vulnerable to being in a bind?
If we go with both projects, it could wipe out the balance of the thing. If you went through, say, narrowed it down to just a meat lab, say maybe cut the cost in half to 2 million, I think we can move forward with that. And even though, because that's that 35% design, it would be a real push to get that to be even bid by this spring to build this summer. So reality, it'd probably be a next summer build. So it'd give us more time in there to.
And when would that start serving students again? The completion, the estimated completion?
Probably another school year beyond that. We'll start, it's going to go in the back where the trailers are. So we'll move a couple of the trailers out so we can actually build during school start. So like in the spring of next year, we could probably start the project and finish it that fall, possibly start classes that January.
So it'll be January 24.
20. Yeah, January 24.
So I apologize. I said I was done and I guess I wasn't. Please, Jeff, go ahead and continue.
No. I've got my questions answered.
And all right, so if I have the timing down correctly, first time we could approach the voters would be November of 2024. If it's approved, first time we would see money would start collection July 1 of 2025. We wouldn't, I mean, it would take June of 2026 before we had a full year worth under our belt of whatever the amount is. If I recall the financial timelines right. So going out to 2026, then we're right now looking at 4.5 years in essence. So at 2.5 years, which would take us to 2024 with 18 million, that gets $7.2 million per year in expenses. If we spent 4 million on a meat lab, then that would take it to 14 million, which would get 5.6 million per year. But then we'd need to almost double that to get to the point where we have a full year's worth of whatever the pay as you go is, if hypothetically we can get before the voters and it passes. There's a lot of ifs there. So we're looking at roughly 3.6 million per year on the high end, 2.8 million on the low end, of hoping to get us through the next roughly 4.5 years. Can your team provide the maintenance that needs to be done with $2.8 million or $3.6 million?
If nothing major goes wrong, yes. If it's
Okay.
just a normal year of maintenance, maintaining the asphalt, repairing a roof here and there. But a roof repair is $1 million. There's several roofs that need to be refurbished like we did the last one at Mountain View.
Just to advocate for that meat lab in Spring Creek, the demand for the skill set that a kid could come out of there with right now is tremendous. It's all, if you go to the grocery store and you price T-bone steak and it's $19 a pound, live cattle today are trading for $1.35 a pound. So the reason for that is the bottleneck in the production side. And it's because the lack of labor, skilled labor in packing facilities, and kids coming out of that program would be in high demand for a long time.
I mean, we could narrow the scope of that project and make it just a meat lab. And take out the diesel portion, you'd cut your costs in half.
You're saying, because the other half was still kind of in limbo as to
Yeah.
what we'd be doing with that area.
They're doing some talking with the principal over there. He's trying to reach out to some of the kids, trying to see what the interest is in it, because this was actually something that was kind of pushed by Mr. Cooney when he was on the board, and it hasn't really been revisited since we were having those meetings before the elections. So
Half the cost sounds a lot better to me.
Unfortunately, this is the squeeze that I was told many times that for opposition to the bond. So just so those listening know, the squeeze you put on is programs such as this, where we're trying to figure out where jobs are going. And to Ira's comment, I have two people that are doing it part-time and making full-time wages, doing butcher jobs basically outside of their regular. So it is a need. But yeah, if we can narrow it down even farther, so we can make sure we set you guys up in case there is like a catastrophic failure or something. So
I'm a big believer in case. I mean, look where we've been in the last couple of years, So
Yes.
we really have to look out as to what's coming up in the future.
Any other thoughts from the board? I would, go ahead, Ira.
Is there any opportunity for that $18 million to earn some money?
interest rate's pretty low.
I know. They keep saying it's gonna
A
go up.
solid 1.5%.
Well, I know just from my perspective, I'd like to see the design completed on both of the projects. Because like you say, I think when you go partway through a design and shelf, put it up, then it's gonna have more cost in the future. And I know that just that North Side Elementary addition with the gym and classrooms, that was a design that can be utilized on multiple campuses. And so I think it would be wise to go ahead and finish that design. And like I say, this is my thoughts, so we will discuss more as a board, but I think it would be wise to finish those designs. And I think it would be nice to have you bring back to the board the design for a potential, here's just the food science lab versus a food science lab and the diesel facility, if that's a
I mean,
possibility.
we could actually just design the meat lab where it's expandable in the future.
Yeah.
So. I mean,
That was the question I was gonna ask too.
Yeah.
Can we get it to where
Yeah.
it can be futured in, right? So
Yeah.
in my business, when I initially built it, we had, I had about 20% of it that I wasn't building, but I could future in. And it made it so that space was there. And then over the course of time, we've utilized all of those different items. So is that a possibility that you've done?
Absolutely.
Where we can start small, work our way up, and then we can find a good place to hopefully get this program to go.
Yeah, we can definitely make that building where it's expandable. You spend about an extra 10 or 50% making sure everything can, the heating and cooling and fire alarms, all that's compatible to an expansion. But it's really easy to do to make something like that, where we could expand it in the future.
Madam Chair, I believe I may have a motion.
Okay,
I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to proceed with designs on both projects and analyze the Spring Creek project to be composed of the meat lab only with the possibility of an expansion in the future.
all right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion or anything pertaining to it? All right, seeing none, we will proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and that is the direction we are
Okay.
providing. And we look forward to hearing back from you as soon as you get things done or as you're in the process.
Will do.
Okay, any
Thank
other
you very much,
questions
Mr.
or?
I'm staying
Okay.
for the next item.
Okay, all right, good. All right, very good. I'll say, any other questions before we move on? All right, we'll move to item 2.4, which is request permission to have an independent third party update Elko County School District's facility master plan for possible action. All right, Mr. Kelly, go ahead.
Okay, the last time the master plan was updated, was originally done in 1999, immediately updated in 20 and approved by the board January of 2001. With that, it's horribly out of date. According to that, we should have a population of about 20,000 students, or pushing 20,000 students. The first elementary school we should have built 15 years ago would have been in Elko, but ended up going to Wendover and then the Spring Creek. So we just need to bring this up to date, and I recommend having a third party do it, just out of transparency and no biases towards this facilities management plan. Jeff called the superintendent of Lyon County. He's given us a potential firm to do this for us. They've done an outstanding job for them. So I just want your permission to move forward with that.
What's the cost involved with this?
I really don't know. I'm gonna guess it's at least probably $100,000. Because they'll come out and check out every facility, check the conditions of all the facilities and meet with groups. I mean, if you look at the plan, they had a citizens group, of probably 30 people in that group. So it was a group of citizens, teachers, admin, commissioners, city mayors, all getting together to evaluate it.
Okay, and think of the right way to ask this. What makes this necessary? What happens if we don't get this?
Well, I think one of the reasons with the bond, both page ago on the bond fail is they didn't think we were transparent. We were not
Right,
researching our projects well enough. So this takes the burden off of us. This outside consulting firm that does this for a living, telling us what we need to move forward with our district. We have a lot of input into it, but it's somebody else putting it all together for us.
I just see it as a big expense where we're not going to be able to make any big expenses come out. So they may tell us what's wrong, but we're not going to be able to do much about it.
I completely understand, but it'd be a plan moving forward in 2024 that we'd have a list of projects that could potentially sell the next time we go to the voters.
So you're saying they have a group, so they get a group of local folks together?
Yes.
Okay. And so that would be something that they handle the logistics of getting those folks to sign up and commit and getting basically a committee of people from locals. And they go around to see what's, and then we just sit back and wait until they come back with their report.
We'll be part of the process. I think with them, we'll have to answer a lot of questions. I mean,
Okay.
we'll have to provide a lot of information on how old is this building? When was the last time mechanical upgrades been done? We'll be providing a lot of information for them.
And there were about 40 people on that committee, and a good portion, or not good portion, most of central office staff was on it. And then there were members from each community. Y had representation, all of the communities had representation, which I think is important. And we have to have some kind of plan when we do receive funding, no matter where it's from. It's good to have a plan so we're ready to go.
And I would agree 100% with Susan on that. In trying to figure out, is every decision we're doing, or how does every decision we're making right now impact our students? We are not going to be able to move forward as a county if we do not get funding at some point in the future.
Oh.
It's disingenuous to think that our constituents are going to vote for anything when we don't have a plan. We're going to have a plan. So I 100% agree with Susan on that. With that said, does your team even have the ability to do this? Let's take transparency and biasness out. Can your team do this? And do it, I mean, no disrespect, but do it appropriately, effectively.
Well, there's so many parts to this. I mean, it's also demographics. You're going to forecast what the student population is going to be. Does my group do that? No. We hire Davis Demographics to do that for us on an annual basis anyhow. But I mean, if you read the document, there's a lot more to it than just saying this building old, this is old, we need to fix this.
Okay, thank you. And I'm glad to hear that we're not necessarily relying on state demographer data. So
Yeah.
that also makes me happy on that. One more quick question, if I may, Madam Chair and Jeff. Julie or Mr. Anderson, is this something that needs to, at what dollar threshold do we need to do a bid?
This is
Do a bid
professional
process.
services. We don't need to bid this.
Sweet, thank you. Well, never mind. Okay, great, thank you.
I'm just curious about turnaround time. What if we approve this, then how long does it take before we see result?
So I've never done one. Last one done in 99, I wasn't here. I'm gonna guess it's gonna take at least 6 to 8 months probably to pull everything together. This is taking a few months, probably just get the committee together.
I kind of want to go back to what Matt was saying. So just so we all understand, if we were to do it internally, it would be a I hate to say department, and that's probably the wrong term, but multi-department project that you would have to get multiple people, pull them from their day-to-day to pull them together to get it, to submit to some outside sources. And then need their information, especially like demographics, back to our committee while these guys are trying to do their job for the day-to-day.
Yes,
Just want to make sure we're clear.
it would take up a lot of my time.
Okay.
Last time we did that demographics, it was at Davis Demographics, wasn't it?
Right.
And they missed the mark by,
I'm not saying we'd use, this consultant would use those guys, but that's who we use. currently.
it seemed like as a board, we could figure out almost as much as they did. Yeah. But this would be a lot more than just
A lot more involved in the demographics.
than just the
Yeah.
demographics.
This is
It's
much
just a small
more,
piece of it.
yeah, say much more focused on the master plan for the facilities.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with these two as far as it being I think it's necessary to fund a plan. If people want transparency, they need to know where we're going. And I think that this is a good step forward.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes,
I'd like to make a motion.
go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to solicit a quote or quotes to conduct an independent third-party update to the Elko County School District Facility Master Plan to present back at a future board meeting for approval.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion?
Mr. Kelly, would that give your staff the ability to move forward without giving you a blank check?
Yes, because any quote we get, I'll bring back to the board, and if the number is astronomical, you guys can say yea or nay if you want to proceed.
Great, thank you. I
think that's
just
a good
didn't like
direction.
quite the way that it was written in the thing to request permission. If we grant permission, I just didn't want to say, yeah, go get it. I'd like that coming back. So thank you.
That clarified it a lot for me
Okay.
because otherwise, well, anyway.
All right, any other questions or discussion before we vote? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and that is approved, and we'll wait to hear back on that as well. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Item 2.5 is receipt, review, and possible approval to go out to bid for fiber and internet service upgrades. This is for possible action. All right. Mac.
And I'm back again. How you guys doing? So there are a couple of schools that do need to have their internet upgraded, whether it be fiber or with a internet service provider, however you want to look at it. Flagview currently, I'm just gonna go down my list I have. And when I'm doing this, E-rate covers probably about 70% of this, and then there's some other funds that I can use to help cover some of these services as well. I will have our E-rate consultant coming in on our next meeting agenda and kind of explaining to you guys how E-rate works and where the funding sits for us. So just so you guys know that going forward. So Flagview right now connects to here wirelessly. Those radios have been up for about 6 years. And we get them maintained every year, but they're getting up there. So having fiber to Flagview so we don't have to worry about that stuff anymore would be wonderful. In Jackpots, some of these projects were put in because the consulting company suggested to put them in because there's some state and federal funds that can be used to clear them out. So those schools are Jackpot, Montello, Mountain Valley, and Ruby Valley. Those ones will be the ones that they suggested we try and get funds for. So that's why I put them in the bid process. We have Wells, Wendover, and Wells and Wendover are in the same situation that Flagview's at. The radios are the same age. It'd be nice to get them connected with fiber and no longer on wireless. And my number one goal this year is to get Oahe finally upgraded with internet. I would like to get that one done. So do you guys have any questions, concerns, comments?
Any questions for Mac?
It's all for it. Get it as quick as you can. Much bandwidth as we can get.
With this, the timeline, the RFPs we do on the 25th. So I'd be bringing it back in March with the numbers, hopefully to let you guys know where we're at, where we stand.
And Mac, if I may, the fiber maintenance fee in here on, I think it's page 4 of your presentation. Is that going to go
Everything-
into the RFP?
Everything past page 2 is specific language for the contractors for the RFP.
So they would be agreeing that if they are down, if I'm understanding this correctly, if they're down for, if our schools are down for 24-hour plus, we
Yes,
get a 50% rebate on that monthly cost.
yes.
I like your negotiating style, sir.
That is USAC. That's put in by them. That's a requirement to get E-rate money.
Great. Tell them that I appreciate their negotiating style. And if I'm also reading this correctly, then under section 6, evaluation criteria, this is the evaluation for the RFP. And so these are the weights that we're going to give based on this criteria within each of the RFPs. For example, if it's an E-rate eligible recurring and one-time circuit cost, then that's going to be a quarter of the weighting.
Yes.
Great. Okay. This is significant, and I appreciate the time that went into this, whether it's your work or others. This is terrific. And yeah, through just earlier today, I think it was, I got another thing through my work on we need to connect America to internet, and there are multiple grants out there that are all pushing, so I can understand why the ISPs are recommending Montello and Mound Valley and Ruby Valley, et cetera. So yeah, I see no downside to this. So I'm hoping that if I'm missing something, that somebody can open my eyes, because where do we go wrong?
Mac, I have a question real quick. And it's just about the degradation. So being a business owner, I know how quick PCs, well, just any computing stuff expires, right?
Mhm.
So could you, in your estimate, being the expert in our community with materials and whatnot, all things computers, 6 years of where these radios being up and running, how far past their date are they really in computer land?
I think their warranty lasted for 4 years, so they're 2 years outside of warranty.
So at least 2 years. Okay. That's a lot. Just that there is a need. I'm trying to expect that there is a need to change these. There's a need to increase these speeds as well. And going fiber was forward.
Especially with our current climate.
All right, do we have a motion from the board?
Madam Chair, I seem to be on a roll, so I'll continue
Go
with
for it,
that.
just carry on.
Move to direct Mr. Robinson and his team to go out to bid for fiber internet services upgrade.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
I'll second.
Any other discussion or questions? All right, all in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and Mac will look forward to hearing back from you on how that goes as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mac.
All right, we'll move on to item 3.1, our consent agenda.
Madam Chair, move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have a question on, maybe I'm just not reading it correctly. For example, on the California, it says number of subs needed 2, number of days needed 2. Maybe that wasn't, sorry, let me look at my notes. So to me, that comes to 50816, not 25408.
Because it's 4 days total at a rate of 127.04.
But two subs at 4
Right,
days.
right. I guess I'm saying 4. I agree with you is what I'm
Oh.
saying.
For man days.
4 man days, exactly. And I know that I think there was a new one that may have been submitted on this as well to correct that, but. Oh, these are the corrected, and that was something that I missed earlier too. So good catch, Susan.
So we have the updated ones as well on here, right? Okay.
Okay, then on the Arizona one, I have the same thing, the subs. I come up with 1,016
Yeah.
32 cents. Not the 50816.
Again, 8 man days instead of 4.
Do we have any clarification we can get on these? Mr. Anderson?
Probably would need to talk to the teachers who are, the sponsors who are requesting these trips. I can foresee some possibilities of why it could be lower than we think, but without knowing the exact circumstances, then yeah, we may just need to check with those sponsors. And we can get back to you on them.
Is there a reason why it's submitted while it's already happening? Is it just with Christmas break? If they could submit it sooner. And I was also even thinking, why don't we have a form that calculates that for them so that we don't run into mistakes?
I'm wondering if the form does calculate, they've just not used the electronic form because the form itself looks electronic.
Yeah, it looks like the form does do that, but this individual probably printed it and just hand wrote things in there.
Just trying to make it easier for them. And then on the Kentucky one, I'm just mixed up a little on the dates because at the top of the form, it says to 6/19, but the itinerary goes to the 17th. So are they traveling and it's going to take them more days to get back? I wasn't sure about the dates. It looks like they'll be back on the 17th, so.
They're leaving the 17th. If they're driving, it'll be a couple days.
They'll fly there and drive back.
Is it a flight?
It is on the way out. I'm assuming it's probably round trip.
Oh, yeah, then.
It's a fair assumption.
Those are just
Also,
my questions.
we can, so these specific travel requests, unfortunately, Keith stepped out, I believe his daughter's playing basketball. Keith touched base with all of the sponsors on these, and we had other revisions that were made already today on these. And so, yeah, barring with Keith not here, not knowing the specifics of the situation again, we'd be happy to figure out why there are the discrepancies and we can get back.
Great.
But I do want to echo with you mentioned something earlier, and we do as a practice request these in advance, but occasionally they come in kind of after the fact or during the next board meeting. But yeah, we strive to have those in ahead of time.
All right, we do have a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda as presented. Do we want to change that or just approve as presented and ask for clarification on those particular trips in another meeting?
I think
just the clarification.
just the clarification is
Yeah.
fine, because I don't think we're going to deny it
No.
based on any changes that are made.
Mm.
So yeah, I would say that my motion stands.
Okay.
With that, I think I would like to amend that briefly to say, please clarify. And I don't know that it needs to come back to an agenda item, but please just correct and clarify.
Okay. All right, and the maker of the second agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other discussion on the consent agenda then? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Okay.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and the consent agenda is approved with just request for clarification on a couple of those items. Item 4.1 is a report from our NASB director.
Okay. Right past the torch. It's just came to light a couple hours ago. Deb sent me an email that the Secretary of Education was involved in that letter that the National School Board Association wrote to the president, that he requested it. So it is going to get, and that was front and center on Fox News. So, and we've already, the Nevada Association of School Boards has already agreed to support them as long as they make some major changes, but this might change that. So.
And then Ira, did you also receive that the NIAA is going to need a new director from our area? And
No,
they're
I
taking
didn't.
Nominations.
I didn't get that.
Okay, I will just see if I can share that real quick. If I can find it. The NIAA is the Nevada Interscholastic Activities Association, and they are the governing body for all activities, sports and such. And there is a representative that represents the smaller districts, and the individual who is serving in that capacity has stepped down, and they're asking for nominations from the district. So if anyone would like to be nominated to serve on the NIAA board, that is a possibility. The term ends, I believe, in a year and a half. I can forward that email to the board if anyone wants that information, if that's how you'd like to go with that.
Is this traditionally a member of the Board of Trustees?
I think
It-
you
it
have
has
to
to
be a
be-
school board member.
It has to be an active member of the Board of Trustees who does not term out before, I think, 2023.
So I think
That doesn't
you
leave
and
much.
Ira are the only two that are eligible. Actually, no, you are the only one that's eligible.
Alright, so
Are you interested?
I'm not sure if I am or not.
I tried last time.
I'll think on it and let you know.
Go to enough
Well,
sporting events, just,
I-
you know.
Yeah, I'll say, I'll talk to the other districts and see if they've got some good candidates. How's that? All right,
Oh,
any-
Wade. He was,
Olson?
yeah,
Mhm.
came down to him and that guy from Virginia City that was the
Yeah,
representative.
we'll get Wade. We'll ask him to do it. He's a nice rural guy. We'll have him be our rep. All right, anything else or any guidance for Ira for one last time as our NASB director? All right, Ira, just thank you for your time
Thank you.
serving.
Yes, thank you.
You have served a long time. Thank you for
I
doing
enjoyed
that.
it.
Yeah, good thing. All right, item 4.2 is items from board members. Anything from board members?
Madam Chair, I have nothing.
Okay, all right.
I'll keep mine quick.
Nothing of relevance right now.
All right, Jeff, go ahead.
I just wanted to discuss that we all went to that training this past weekend with goal setting and spent some real good time together looking at what we can do moving forward to help the kids in our district. So that was a really good experience in getting together. It's been nice seeing everybody get out to that. And I took a lot out of that. So just wanted to add that was a really good situation this weekend.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a good training and great to have that help for all of the board and all of our, everything is new in Elko County. It's awesome. So we're doing good things. Any other items from board members?
I met with Cassie to talk about grants, just so she could show me some things. Probably we'll have to meet again because there's a lot, we have a lot of money in grants, which is great. I also met with Anna from the SROs, and it was interesting to hear the connection they make with the kids at schools. So I really enjoyed my chat with them.
Thank you.
I would add, I also met with Anna with SROs and had a great conversation. I'll be bringing some stuff forward on maybe some things we can do to better improve our security and readiness around campuses. Some of the things we talked about, I had some questions for her, but yeah, they're doing a great job out there too.
Great. All right. Thank you. No one else is jumping up, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to item 5.1, our superintendent's report. Mr. Anderson.
Awesome. So first, thank you, by the way, all of you for visiting our campuses, whether it's from about a month or two ago when some of you started doing that. I've heard from a lot of our site administrators that they've seen your faces, and more importantly, your ears have heard their words, and that they really appreciate it. So thank you so much for being active as board members in our community, and listening to those concerns. I also was glad to have that opportunity this weekend, and I know Candace and Ray were both grateful for it as well. It was good to talk about education and talk about data, and I love to talk about data. I really do. So that was fun for me, and I like the direction we're heading. So I appreciated that opportunity. A few things just to keep you aware of. A lot of you, I'm sure, saw it, but if just to clear everything up and make sure people are aware, late December, CDC gave some updated guidelines on isolation quarantine, and that was for the general public. When we came back first day of school, we did a press release letting people know that we were not changing with the CDC quite yet because we wait for guidance and from the DHHS of Nevada. And then on Friday of last week, we received that updated guidance, which, no surprise, very closely mirrors what the CDC said. However, in the name of consistency, we have consistently waited for guidance from our health authority, which is the DHHS. So we received that on Friday. Sunday, sent an email out to all staff, so they knew that we would be implementing those changes immediately. Actually, some of them had already been implemented, but that moving forward, what they could expect, and then press release yesterday to the general public. So I'm not going to go through the entire list of changes and how those impact our schools, but safe to say that two things. One, it does make it so that we can have the possibility of having our kids in school more often. And if there are still need for exclusions for one reason or another, we can get them back faster. The other thing that's important to mention is while we are excited about that, we are not, we're not taking the situation lightly either. It is not a relaxation of diligence, but just a change that helps us keep kids in school more. So we're excited about that. And hopefully we see positive impact of that. So that is what I have to say about that. The next one, just so you're aware, between now and the next time we meet, we will be in a different semester of the 21-22 school year. So this coming week, we will wrap that up. First semester over, we'll start the second one. Just want to give all of our teachers, staff, students, everyone a shout out and a thank you for working hard and persevering through this first semester, and looking forward to positive things in the second. Had a lot of great things going on and excited about even more. Some good news, and this was something when we were at the NASB conference, we heard about the Donors Choose grant program that went statewide. And I just wanted to give you some numbers from our district for it and inform people of how we've benefited from that. So without going too much into detail, that Donors Choose grant was roughly 8 million plus some that was given opportunity to teachers to apply for individual classroom grants of up to $800 a piece. And they had to apply for that grant. They had to name their project something nifty, say what it was for, and then all the other things you would do is with submitting a grant. So in the state of Nevada, a little over 11,000 projects were funded. And as it applies to our district, we have 19 campuses. We have BBYCA, so Battleborn, and then we also have our 4 rural schools. So we always talk about 19 campuses, but really we have 24 facilities, and 19 of those facilities there was at least a teacher in there that received some of this grant money. And overall, the 217 of our teachers applied for and received these grants that would be up to $800. Total amount of money that we could have received if you multiply 800 across that is $173,600. And when you look at the total cost of our projects that they submitted for, because they have to not only say how much they would like, but how much the total project would cost, that was $188,651.63. So in nearly $200,000 worth of projects that they were wanting to do, it's always dangerous to do math on the fly, but that's about 7/8 of those projects got funded, which is pretty amazing. And we're grateful for that. Those projects range anything from, so they have fun names like Advancing Knowledge Through Exposure, Baking While It's Hot, Beep, I Can Program a Robot, George's Secret Key to the Universe, and Perseverance and the Power of the Human Spirit. I tried to grab a sampling of names for you, and those things would they range all grade levels in our district, K through 12, and teachers and kids benefited from receiving supplies, books, lab equipment, flexible seating, musical instruments, equipment for sports and other areas, technology to facilitate these projects. So really just a wide range of how our classrooms and our students have benefited from that. So really grateful to the generous people that donated their money, and to our teachers for seizing that opportunity. Shows how much they care about their students and what they do. And one final note, if you're feeling like getting shown up by some kids and their knowledge next, so not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday, 1/22, so January 22nd at 11 a.m. at the Spring Creek Middle School will be the ECSD Spelling Bee final. Throughout this week, I believe many campuses are finalizing who their representative will be from their school. And then they'll show off or show down, I guess, both at Spring Creek Middle the following weekend. And, spoiler alert, we plan on recognizing those individuals at the following board meeting. So that is available if you'd like to go check that out. And that is all from me.
Well, thank you, Mr. Anderson. Appreciate that. All right. Any questions for our superintendent?
Couple
Right.
of quick
Oh, go
questions.
ahead.
I do apologize. Battleborn Youth Academy on our enrollment is at 0, and that's only because they're in the middle of their, it's not their cohort
Yes.
part, right?
So they will be receiving their next, is it cadre? I think they refer to them as their next cadre of kids on Saturday of this week. So they will be spending the rest of this week, even though technically the staff there is still on vacation. They will be utilizing a bit of this week to get prepared for those kids. They come in for a roughly 2-week acclimation period where they come to face with their new way of life for the next 5+ months. And then towards the end of January, they will begin their academic courses. So yeah, the number there is 0 because technically there are no children there right now. They estimated I was present at the graduation and I met with some of the staff there afterward to, fist bump them and tell them great job. And they estimated they would be right under 50 kids there. So a little more than double what they had for the first semester. So they're doing a good job expanding that program, and heard a lot of really great things and love the coverage that those wonderful kids got in our newspaper as well. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Great. All right. We'll move on to item 6.1, approval of the accounts payable.
I move to approve the accounts payable.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right.
I have a disclosure.
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
My name is listed there in the accounts payable for mileage from travel. I put in 1,600 miles in November and got a payment for that. So I will be abstaining from voting on that item.
Thank you. Any other disclosures or abstentions on the regular accounts payable?
Dr. Byers, I think you may
I
be
was
on
just
there
gonna
as
say,
well.
yeah, I was just looking to make sure I am on that as well. So I'll abstain as well.
All right. Okay. All right. Any questions for Julie? She is here.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, if I may. Julie, thank you. Only 2 today. Pages 6 and 8 have a number of payments to Stacy R. Ross, PhD Incorporated, and also to Consora Institute of Neuroscience for the winter sports concussion testing. Each payment seems to have an exact amount to the other payee. Is that just their method of splitting between provider and employer, or is it's not double dipping, right? I mean, it's not we didn't pay this 2 people to test each other.
No, so we used to cut one check to Sport Concussion Specialists of Nevada. They've requested us to pay each
Okay.
individual separately. The checks go in the same envelope to the same address, but we split the payment between those 2.
Okay. Thank you. And then on page 12, there is a fairly large payment in the amount of $157,344 for the ELC grant. And it's paid to Aguirre LLC, perhaps. The ELC grant, I'm sorry, tell me again what that one is.
It's the epidemiology grant, and we use that
the company that we went through to purchase air purifiers that were granted through the Pennington Foundation.
Okay.
So we use the ELC, a portion of ELC funds to get air filters and bulb replacements for the next 2 years.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much. That is it. Julian, Madam Chair, I'm finished on those. Thank you.
All right. Okay, any other questions before we move forward? All right. All in favor of approving the accounts payable, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, chair votes aye, and those are approved, and we do have the 2 abstentions. We also have the payment to Wells Rural Electric. If we can have a motion on that or any discussion.
I move to approve payment to Wells Rural Electric.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. I will be disclosing that I have a family member who is employed by Wells Rural Electric, so I will be abstaining. There are no other questions. We will proceed to vote. All in favor of approval of the payments to Wells Rural Electric, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And the chair abstains, but that motion carries. Item 7.1 is a final opportunity for input from the public. I'm going to go ahead and read an email that we received, and then if there's anyone who wishes to make a comment, we will open the floor for that. It says, hello, my name is Catherine Kelly, and I'm a local educator and mom. I would first like to state how impressed I have been with the communication that CJ has provided so far. It is nice to see the board and district becoming more transparent with the issues that are arising. Please continue to do this, and slowly but surely we will be able to regain the public's trust for the school board and district. I saw on the agenda for tonight that we would be talking about the next fiscal year. I know that with the bond not passing, that the school district finances are stretched, but I would encourage board members to look at the social studies curriculum. The last time that a book was adopted was almost 10 years ago, and that book was published in 2005 at my site. That is now almost a 20-year-old book. History has changed dramatically over these years with the addition of many viewpoints and additional research being conducted. We have adopted language and math curriculum in recent years, and I think that it is vital to provide both parents and teachers with a district-approved curriculum, with social studies specifically being selected over other areas. With the current rise in CRT movement and teachers having many different views, it is imperative that the district find a curriculum so parents know what is being taught in their schools. It also provides a sense of security for us teachers that we are teaching district-approved curriculum. Simply providing the standards is not enough. We want to provide an engaging, rigorous curriculum that teaches our kids to think critically and to analyze history from many different viewpoints. I'm sure many teachers would feel more comforted having an approved curriculum that protects us against the wide range of viewpoints from parents in our district. Thank you, Catherine Kelly. Is there anyone else who wishes to make a comment at this time? All right. Seeing none, we will move on to adjournment of the meeting, and thank you for participating with us in whatever avenue you did, and hope you have a wonderful evening, and also Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thanks.
Start signing here.
Start saying that.
I didn't